Weak people follow strong leaders. You could fill volumes with examples of people's unquestioning, fanatical allegiance to a leader beyond all reason, logic, decency, self-interest, or even their instinct for self-preservation. People who get so obsessed with a person they admire that they stop thinking and reasoning for themselves and simply take whatever that person says and does at face value, all the way to the point of justifying their idol's behavior to absurd extremes. But who are these kinds of people? What is it about some followers that drives them to pathologically ignore reality in the service of their fanatical devotion to a leader? What psychological quirk infects the fanatical followers' brains to the point that their dedication to their leader overpowers reality, their instinct for self-preservation, and even their innate drive to protect their own children? Let us take an extreme example, that of a suicide bomber. What is different about the suicide bomber that drives him to sacrifice his life in the service of his group? As a person, he is nobody. He has nothing. He has done nothing. He knows he will never do or be anything. But he believes that putting on that vest and pressing that button will elevate him from a nobody to a somebody, even though the price is becoming a dead somebody. He does it to boost his self-esteem. He does it in the service of his ego and to punish those he sees as his enemies. He is a person who blames others for the quality of his life and wants to punish those people. This is obviously an extreme example. Most followers are unwilling to kill themselves at the snap of the leader's fingers, but I think that the same emotional forces are at work in other followers, though at a lesser intensity. But who does not become a fanatical follower? Generally, someone who has a strong self-image, a strong ego, a strong belief in his own self-worth. Someone who does not need to further inflate his own ego by emotionally attaching himself to a leader, and who doesn't blame others for every failure in his or her life does not become a fanatical follower. But people with weak egos and who may blame others for not getting the kind of life they think they deserve do. This is the curse of the weak ego. Quoting words from a member of the Nazi SS, "As a man alone, in my heart, I know that I am ordinary, a nobody. But as a member of the Führer's SS, I am a man to be reckoned with." Which, translated in simple words, means, as a man alone, in my heart, I know that I am ordinary, a nobody. But as devoted supporter of the leader, some of his power will become my power, and I will become someone more important than I was as a man alone. This trying to elevate himself simply by associating himself to an important person instead of on his own merits is typical of people who are fascinated by the figure of the strongman. What are the emotional and psychological qualities that separate the fanatical follower from the rest of us? Followers are people who believe they are powerless in their life. People who feel they live a life of no importance and believe that some group has unjustly caused their lives to be less successful than they deserve, and believe that their leader will punish those who caused this. In the end, extreme devotion to a leader is ego-driven, but a weak ego. It is the desire of someone who considers himself ordinary to become special by emotionally attaching himself to a powerful or charismatic leader. The fanatical follower is a parasite who seeks to inflate his ego by attaching himself to the leader in the belief that some quotient of the leader's importance will flow into him and enhance the follower's own power and self-worth. The stronger and more powerful the leader, by proxy, the stronger and more powerful the follower believes he will become. The stronger and more powerful the leader, the more likely the leader will be successful in punishing those whom the follower believes are to blame for his not getting the sort of life he thinks he deserves. The fanatical follower is often angry, feeling that he has not gotten the life that he deserves. He sees the leader as a tool to right the wrongs that have been done to him. The fanatical follower often believes that a certain racial, economic, or ethnic group has taken the power, respect, job, sexual partners, or wealth that ought to be his. He or she becomes devoted to a leader who promises to right the wrongs the follower believes have been done to him by that group. The follower sees his support from the leader as the best way to fight against and punish illegal immigrants, criminals, politicians, elitists, etc., who he is sure are responsible for his not successful enough life. But why can the leader not be allowed to fail? If the leader should fail, if the follower is forced to admit that the leader is a fraud or corrupt or evil, then the leader's contamination will infect the follower as well. The leader's failure will become the follower's failure. To admit that the leader is dirt would mean that the follower is again just as unimportant as he was in the beginning. If his devotion to the leader has raised the follower up, if the follower has become more important by sucking up part of the leader's celebrity, then to the same degree, he will be demeaned and cast down by the leader's fall. And if the leader is allowed to fail, if the leader is admitted to be a lying, corrupt charlatan, then those evil people who have cheated the follower out of his rightful success in life will get away with it, and the follower cannot allow that to happen. If the leader fails, the follower fails. For the follower to be more important, the leader must remain a hero. If you're forced to admit that the leader is, in fact, a villain, then your devotion to him will turn you from a winner into a fool, and the people who have tainted your life and kept you down will get away with it. For those who have wronged you to be punished, the leader must remain in power. The only thing that would make the follower turn away from the leader is the perception that the leader has made peace with the group that the leader has promised to bring down. If that group, for example, were illegal aliens, and the leader supported enacting a path for them to gain citizenship, the follower would abandon the leader in a flash. On the other hand, if the leader remained true to the stated goal of destroying that hated group, the leader could be filmed doing horrific things, and his fanatical followers would not even blink. And that is why the fanatical supporters of a powerful leader can never, ever admit to anyone, especially to themselves, that the object of their devotion is a liar, a coward, a monster, or a crook. Because their hero's failure signals their own failure, what else could a person with a weak ego and little or no belief in their own independent self-worth and a burning desire that those whom they blame for their lowly position in the world be punished do, but hold fast to the lie no matter how strong the evidence of the leader's sins? And these are often the foundations of populism, of the admiration for the strong man seen as the savior of their homelands. The love for the macho man who, by combining his charm with a bit of simple populist rhetoric, manages to attract the attention and admiration of weak men. Populism is often a war waged by males who feel the ground is crumbling under their feet, and they lash out at everyone that they consider different: foreigners, women, homosexuals, and so on. They reject progress and innovation as they feel they are taking away their jobs. They're weak and powerless in the face of change. These are often men who feel they have become powerless. These men admire those who bang their fists on the table to show how tough they are. They are less interested in those who seek mediation, those who welcome and care for others. They often like muscular nationalism, the identity of us versus them, and even if they've never contributed anything to the betterment of the us, they seek a simple association to be part of a group that could frankly do without them. They effectively feel powerless. They like to transmit fear, to prevaricate, even to humiliate, but often being incapable of that themselves because they are fundamentally cowards, they simply admire the powerful man who does that on their behalf, the type of man they so much want to be, but will never be. That's it for today. If you liked the video, I suggest you watch the video titled 9 Signs That You Have a Strong Personality that you can find on this channel. I'm sure you'll like it. I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell if you haven't done so already, and wish you a wonderful rest of the day.